Welcome to the Bedroom Studios podcast, the podcast where we talk about what goes on behind the scenes in a musician's world and bridge the industry gap by bringing their stories, expertise, and advice to early career artists. Subscribe to join us for a fun chat about life as a creative person, tips and tricks for pursuing an artistic career, navigating the music industry, and more. I am your host, Emma, and today I will be interviewing Christopher Ma. Christopher Ma is a Toronto-based singer-songwriter, producer, and multi-instrumentalist. Their body of work spans 12 full-length albums, EPs, Christmas records, and more, drawing from a variety of genres and sounds, but mainly working in the realms of rock and folk. They were born and raised in Scarborough, singing and playing the drums, guitar, euphonium, and tuba throughout high school and university. Writing, producing, mixing, and mastering their music alone in their home studio, Christopher has consistently released projects every year since 2015, taking the opportunity with each one to try something new. Although they rarely performed their music live for the better part of their music career, starting in 2022, Christopher has been playing shows with a live band, notably at Pearson International Airport for YYZ Live, and for headlining shows at the Black Swan Tavern, and most recently, the Baby G. They are currently working on their 13th album. I had such a great time chatting with Christopher, and I hope you enjoy this episode of the Bedroom Studios podcast. Thank you so much for being on the podcast.
Yeah, I'm happy to be here.
I like to start the interviews with asking our guests to introduce themselves and give a background on your music and artistic journey for people who may not know who you are.
So I'm Christopher Ma. I was born and raised in Scarborough and still live here. I started doing music maybe in when I was around 12-ish. I started getting into playing the drums and guitar and eventually started recording, and now got 12 albums out and still working on new stuff, and I for the most part I write, record, and produce and mix and master everything myself too. And so it's been a very solo thing for the past for the whole time that I've been releasing music, which is since 2015 now. And yeah, we just love music and keep writing. Yeah,
That's really cool. So, wow, almost 10 years. That's actually crazy. Yeah, I think it's really unique that you've released so many albums and that most of them you have done on your own. Was that to do it by yourself? Was that an intentional choice of you like working on your own, or was there another reason why it sort of went in that direction?
well, at first when I first started recording, I had just heard that there was actually recording software was something that existed from a friend, and then I just started messing around. And at the time I had already started, or I'd been writing and kind of making MP3 recordings by myself for kind of throughout high school. So I heard about this in the beginning of university, and yeah, I just started recording stuff that I'd already been doing, I guess. And then once it was oh, I have all these tracks done, so it's an album, so I'm gonna release it on Bandcamp. And I didn't really think that much about it. And then it was just so happened that I did end up doing everything by myself, aside from asking my sister and a couple friends to contribute a few things. And yeah, it was it was fun. And so I just kept doing that. And it was just it just ended up being kind of easy, I guess. And I just kind of adapted to that method of working. And also I didn't definitely at the beginning I didn't really know many people, or I didn't know anybody, I think, that was recording music, because I wasn't really in any sort of I wasn't really in a music circle or anything of like, yeah, people who did that. So now like I know like way more people who do that stuff, but at this point it's just like I kind of have a good like workflow of
Mm.
how I record and write, and it's just like yeah, I'm able to do it like kind of like quickly and easily now. Yeah, I don't know. It makes me happy doing it like that, I guess. Yeah, I
Nice.
hope that answers the question.
Oh yeah, for sure. Does the writing happen separately from the production, or do you do it kind of all simultaneously?
Hmm. I would say it is a more of a simultaneous thing. Sometimes there I will like, be fiddling around on the guitar and then, I'll get like the majority of a song that way. But a lot of the time, especially for the last album that I made, it was very much like um putting a song together while I'm recording it and like moving parts of the song around, taking parts out, stuff like that. So yeah, it's definitely become a very like studio type of like writing process now. Yeah, and then you asked about the workflow.
Yeah.
So yeah, like usually I come up with like song ideas or like bits that I like on guitar. I might, and sometimes I'll be like, I'll just sing along while I'm playing, and something might like, I'll be like, oh yeah, wait, that was like good. I'll make like phone voice memos of it,
Mm.
try it a few times until I get to a thing that like sounds like good, and then yeah, at some point, if I'm feeling like in the recording mood, then I'll like go and like try to record that, and then usually it's that's not enough for a song, so I'll just start adding stuff from there, which I'll just say for the last album I ended up using a lot of like MIDI drums at the beginning of the writing process because it was a more like rock heavier type of album, so I did a lot of like MIDI drums just so I could hear how it would sound in that like rock context because I live in like a townhouse like apartment thing, so I can't really just hop on the drums like
Mm-hmm.
any time of the day and like go crazy on them like that. So yeah, I did that to get drums on there, and then I would record some bass too, and yeah, and I would like there was a lot of like shifting parts around, cutting and pasting, and because I wanted to get songs to be like shorter lengths on that
Mm.
album, so for that I there was a lot of recording and then listening to the file like when I'm on the bus or like walking or going to bed or something, and then yeah, I was able to be like, okay, this is too long, I can cut these parts out, or like, oh, I need to hear this part again, so do it again and it's like a chorus now,
Mm.
that sort of thing. Yeah, so I guess in that way there is writing going on like outside of the recording studio as
Mm.
well, just like thinking about the songs.
Yeah. I've been trying to like, 'cause I'm also a songwriter, and recently I've been trying to do more. I've been revisiting songs that I had wrote years ago but never finished, and trying to edit them and actually finish them. And I find that sometimes I'll have a section of a song that I feel like I can't, either I can't change it, or like I don't know what to put around it to make it a full song. You know what I mean?
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, do you ever feel like a sort of attachment to certain sections or certain parts of the song that prevents you from moving forward with the editing process?
Yeah, there's definitely been a lot of that for sure. Like sometimes, I'll get a like a block like that, and I find that yeah, like a lot of the time it is best to just like stop working on it for a while, or just like put it to the side, with that
Mm.
intention of like going back to it once I can figure out a different way of like looking at it. maybe. I'm trying to think of
Yeah.
other times that this has happened. Uh, but I think usually I do that, just like being patient with it, I guess. But I think sometimes it can be rewarding to kind of force it
Mm.
to like be like, no, it has to be that way. So I'm gonna like try to figure out like right now how to make it work, or I'm gonna do something like unorthodox or weird in order to get it to work, or just like force that part in. Yeah, it is hard to think of examples on the
Yeah.
spot, but but yeah, I can say that at least.
You mentioned that when you first started releasing music, it was kind of just like, oh, I have all these songs, let's just put it out. And I cannot relate to that because like for me and my own journey, I really really wanted to not just release the song, but also just like work with someone who can like fully produce, cuz I was a songwriter before I started producing things. So it was like, oh, I have all these songs and I can't get them to that point where it's like finished and I can release them. So for me, releasing music is always like just a highly emotional experience. Just that whole process of getting it to that finished point. And
Yeah.
I'm working on letting go of that now because now I can do more on my own and I can actually make things happen. But yeah, I'm excited to hear more about kind of your process and journey in that,
Mm.
because I think that releasing music and making music should be really fun. And
Mm-hmm.
I put a lot of pressure on myself to the point where sometimes it's not fun.
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like I think for me, like the reason I was able to do that at first is, I guess I wasn't putting pressure on myself
Mm.
because I had no intention of ever like performing live or like having many other people hear my music at all. Like, uh, and also, I think it's important that I was like a super huge like Beatles nerd, and like other groups that are kind of like praised for their like production and like studio stuff like that. Like before I started recording, I had already like read stuff about like music nerd stuff like that.
Mm.
So when I started recording, it was kind of like, wow, this is like, I can put a mic in like different corners of the room and try to like be like the Beatles or
Yeah.
something. So it was more like a goofing off thing, I guess,
Mm.
which was nice. And yeah, I kind of miss that now. Just like not really knowing what I was doing and just doing things that don't really work, but at the time like felt like fun to do with
Mm.
regarding recording. Yeah, so I think that's how I was able to do that. But I think yeah, like once you're able to like let go of that uh, pressure, I guess. Yeah, it's recording can be a really like fun thing, but I think it's also a big difference, like because you like I seem you like go to studios and stuff to record, right?
I've only done that once. For
Okay.
the stuff I'm releasing now, um, we've just been recording it at home.
Mm-hmm.
For the song that it's almost done. We're
Cool.
very close,
Nice.
but I'm co-producing this one, and so my co-producer, his setup at his place, like the room is a little bit better to record in, so I went to his place and we just recorded at his house.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. I feel like a studio can be like, can be like pressured to like work more efficiently or like produce
Mm.
something like really good there, but yeah, like home recording with friends and stuff is like
Yeah.
I'm sure that's like a lot better in some ways.
Yeah, it's funny though, because lately it's it's been like it's just been like a really weird time for me in general, like mentally and emotionally. But I
Mm.
find that I get more like of that kind of red light syndrome, just nervousness when I'm at home recording by myself than when I'm with someone else.
Wow, really?
When I'm with someone else, it's like, okay, I have to, like, it's got to happen today, right? It's not like I'm
Mm.
at home and I can spend however many hours I need. Like, we have a time limit, so I need to get myself right
Yeah.
in this moment and do it. Whereas when I'm at home, there's also no one else there, so I'm just like at the mercy of my own thoughts.
Wow, that's really interesting, actually. So it's
Yeah.
like the complete opposite for you then. It actually
Yeah.
helps you to be with someone else.
It really does.
Wow.
Yeah. But I don't know. I haven't because I've been working on my own releases recently, so I haven't done a lot of kind of more chill recording projects.
Hmm.
Like when I sit down to record, it's like this is gonna be the thing that's gonna be on the final recording. Ah,
Hmm.
as opposed to like when you're just doing when you're getting ideas down, it's like, oh, I could always redo this. And I guess it's the same when you're doing when you're doing an official recording, you can always redo it.
Mm, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Are you working on like you said it's just a single, right? It's not like an EP or something, or
I released two singles last year or last March and then the October before then. And so I've been
okay.
working on three new songs and I'm going to kind of group those into an EP. And then I have some more things planned. I have it for 2026.
Ooh,
Yeah.
2026. All right, all
Yeah.
right.
I have like almost an EP done. I think there's one or two more songs that I want to add, but
Okay,
the
nice.
concept is it's it's there. Yeah. How long does it usually take from beginning to end for you to write and produce a full album?
Full album. Okay, well, the last one was kind of a last one was really quick actually because yeah, I just had a nice like creative streak. So the last one I ended up, from the first song that I wrote, it was like early February of this year, and then I ended up, the album was like pretty much done by like July. So that one was like I was like working like crazy for that one. And yeah, I was lucky I was able to spend just many hours a day like doing recording and lucky that I still felt like motivated for like most of the time and getting inspiration and stuff.
Mhm.
So I was able to do that, yeah, in like what I just it was like 4 or 5 months, I guess. Um, Usually, I guess, yeah, it would take around like 6 to 8 months. But while I was in university, for some reason, I was able to work so much faster then, even though I had all this schoolwork and whatever. And I was mostly doing like okay in school, aside from a couple courses. But yeah, I was still able to record a lot. And yeah, back then I was putting out like 2 albums a year for like 3 years in a row.
Oh wow.
Those are my last years of university too. So probably, yeah, probably not the best idea, but I think it like kept me sane during that time. Just doing a lot of like music outside of school. In those times too, I was not as not as good as a producer, I think, like technically, because I didn't really know as much. So it was actually kind of like faster for me to do stuff because I wasn't thinking about things as much and not spending as much time like editing or doing like mixing. And I didn't know what mastering was at all, so I didn't do that. So it was like, yeah, it was faster for me back then when I didn't
Hmm.
know as much too.
How has your process, or I guess like process, but also the music, how has it changed from your first releases to the more current ones?
Yeah, the first releases, so the first 2 albums that I did were actually a lot, those were actually a lot slower actually. Each of those ones took me like over a year to do each one because at that point it was like I didn't know enough to where everything was like really hard for me actually, and I couldn't get things to like sound right. So they ended up taking a long time. And also I think I failed a few courses in school during the time, so I was kind of struggling there too. So yeah, I didn't hit that like balance yet, I guess. Uh, and writing was also like a lot harder because I think it took me like many songs, like maybe like 4 years until I like found my sound. So in those early days, it was like hard and like slow, just writing, and I was like worse at my instruments too. So everything was just like slower. Yeah, compared to now, it has definitely changed a lot. Like back then, I wouldn't writing lyrics would be really hard, and coming up with a melody would be like not as natural as a thing, I guess. Like I remember a few times I would, because I was studying theory in school at university at the time, so I would try like writing things out with like music notation. That didn't help me at all. It was I realized that was not my thing. So yeah, it was harder back then.
Mm. Yeah, I find that. Sorry, this is the thing that popped into my head. I have this book, this music theory book that is apparently a very good book, and I've read some of it. It is a very good book, but
Mm.
I haven't really gotten too far into it because if I were to read that book, I would need to be sitting in front of the piano actually playing the musical examples or
Mm.
like physically hearing the things that they're talking about, or whatever scale or whatever chord or harmony they're talking about. Because if I were to
Yeah,
just read it, yeah, I might know things, but it's not going to stick in my brain. I'm not going to be able to actually apply it in real life. So, yeah.
totally.
So haven't read it yet, haven't finished it.
Yeah, I felt like I feel the same way for sure. And like that extends like beyond even just like reading it. Like when I was in school doing it in uni, um, I had some like my teachers were not bad, the profs weren't bad, but uh, I feel I didn't really learn much during those years, uh, learning about theory in school, uh, compared to like afterwards when I, started listening to more different types of music, and then also, on YouTube I found more creators who were doing like stuff
Mm.
about theory that I would like see once in a while. Like I feel like videos like that, like YouTube videos and shorts and whatever, were end up being a lot more helpful because yeah, you get to like hear stuff, and then not only hear it, but you hear it in the context of like actual songs. You hear how like uh this chord progression or whatever would could work, and it's like, yeah, okay, that makes sense. Like I recognize that in songs that I've heard before, and then I feel that helps things like stick
Mm.
way better compared to like in school where it's like, okay, these are the all the modes, memorize these scales, and it's like, okay, these are the scales, but what is that? How does that work in like music?
Mm.
You know, and they
Yeah.
never really. I don't remember them saying that, which is crazy, but yeah, yeah.
Yeah. I remember when I took this intro composition course, and in a lot of the assignments we had to, if we had to write like a short thing of music, and we had to use like two modes that weren't the major scale or the natural minor scale.
Mm,
And I feel like at that time, whatever I wrote, it just sounded like something written in a major key,
mm,
just with whatever note altered. Like it didn't have like the tonal center that something in a different mode would have.
yeah.
And I realized that like when I go to church, they have some of the songs that our church is like, it's not contemporary pop music, but it's also not Gregorian chants. It's kind of, I feel like it's somewhere in the middle.
Okay.
And so some of the songs that are just, they're so beautiful, but I realized a couple years ago, I'm like, wait, this is modal. This is the thing that this is what they were saying.
Mm,
And I'm like, that's why it sounds like that. I'm like, oh man, I could never get my own music to sound like that because it just wasn't. I didn't understand the character of the scale.
Mm,
You know what I mean?
yeah. Yeah, like I can imagine like, when that finally clicks, it's a it's a great thing. It's a crazy thing.
Yeah.
And like I'm still there's a lot of like music theory things that I'm still like I feel like I still don't fully grasp them yet.
Oh, me too.
That hasn't like hit me yet. And yeah, hopefully one day I'll like hear the song or whatever, or watch some video that'll be, you know, help me understand them properly. But
Yeah.
yeah.
Especially as like I mostly do like I studied classical flute, but now I pretty much only make pop music.
Mm,
So I yeah, I feel like there's just not as much of a I don't know. I think knowing more theory, knowing more things could be really cool creatively, and exploring those things could be really cool. But I think also the genre is more harmonically simple
mm,
in a lot of ways, which isn't a bad thing.
yeah, no.
But yeah.
Yeah, like I think that too sometimes about like my own music because I mostly do like a lot of the stuff is like rock and folk type music,
Hmm.
and like I listen to a lot of like jazz and classical as well, and I want to be able to use like take stuff from that, and like take stuff from school too to like apply to the music that I make. And I feel like sometimes I'm like able to do that in a way without it sounding like I'm trying to force myself into
Hmm.
some like other genre or something. But yeah, I for me, I'm trying to find that like balance, I guess, or get that ability to be able to do that more. For those two genres in particular. But yeah, I'm not quite there yet.
I feel like this is like an obvious question, but do you find that being able to play a bunch of different instruments helps you as an arranger?
Yeah, yeah, for sure. Like, yeah, there's memes online about like, oh, when the guitarist tries to write a drum part, and then it's like MIDI drums, and then they put some like crazy like blast beats in there that is like physically impossible to play. So yeah, I feel like it's definitely been really helpful. Mainly more like the fact that I record by myself. Like yeah, obviously that is like helpful to be able to record and play the other instruments. But as an arranger too, yeah, like as I've gotten better at like the bass in particular, like I feel I've been able to, write better bass lines, but also like understand its place in the song better. Yeah, I'm trying to get there for like the piano as well, because
Mm.
I didn't get like piano schooling or anything. So I'm trying to like learn that more and more like on my own, which I think I've like improved over time. But yeah, I'm still not like quite good enough for me, uh, where I can make better piano parts in my songs. What are we saying? Yeah, it has helped. It has helped though. It is helpful.
I like how the kind of overarching message I'm getting is that the making of the albums, it's like steps along the process, and there's kind of that like upwards trajectory of like learning new things for each project, which I think is really cool. And I think yeah, it's a good way to view it.
Yeah, that is what I like try to do with my projects, and yeah, I think that's what's been able to like keep me going over the years with like songwriting and music making is just always trying to like push myself to do something different, and like become better at recording or songwriting, or doing things like listening to different types of music and trying to take things from that and put them into the songwriting. I do want to say though, going back to the previous thing, I don't. I'm not. I wouldn't say it's necessary to to learn like multiple instruments and stuff. So yeah, because there is a thing that I think where it can be like it's like really nice to be able to have other people play all the other instrument parts for
Mm.
you. And there's a lot of great albums where that like collaboration is like what makes the music like great. Obviously for all bands and stuff like that. And for me, I feel like that, I want to be able to do that with like future projects, like collaborate more and have other people play the different instruments and stuff like that. But I feel like now I'm kind of experiencing a like a self-created problem where like it's like hard for me to get other people to play instrumental parts on my stuff because with the way that I make my songs, like most of the time I'm already gonna have like an instrumental part in mind for that already,
Mm.
or I might have just already like recorded it just because like I had that like urge to like do it or whatever, and then I'll be like, oh, I want to get this friend to like play this, but oh, what if he plays it differently from what I already did? uh, yeah, it's happened before, and then I would like annoy my friends, like trying to, or I would annoy myself, like being like unsatisfied in a way, even though what they did was like really good. But that's
Mm.
totally like an internal thing that, yeah, I just need to get over eventually.
Yeah, I ideally we want everything to be super smooth and we want our collaborators to be mind readers and to know exactly what our vision is and what we want, but I think like a true collaboration typically does have a lot of back and forth.
Yeah, yeah, and I guess another part of that too is just being able to find someone who is able to like mesh with you well in that way.
Mhm.
On Yeah,
That's so
that's on
important.
like both ends.
Yeah. I admire the confidence that you have in your own ideas. And I feel like me phrasing it that way sounds really bad and maybe condescending, but I don't mean it that way. I mean it like just that I don't feel confident in my own ideas. I think my default is like uh anybody's idea is better than my idea. Like I'm like my ideas aren't good
Mm,
kind of thing. And so for you to like be able to say like, oh, I have this vision and this is what I want and I'm gonna execute it and just do it, like that's something that I'm slowly but surely working towards in my own music making.
yeah, I mean, well, thank you. It's I I don't yeah, I don't know. For me, I don't know if I fully view it as a positive thing like all the time in some ways because like sometimes it's just like with regard to like musical ideas, sometimes it's just like overconfidence or stubbornness, I guess. Because yeah, for like a long time I wanted to do like everything, including like the album art and stuff. Like I would use like photographs or I would like make it myself. Because yeah, it was that fear of like handing something important over to somebody else and just the unknown, I guess, of that.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, I mean, because of that, that's what led me to just doing so much by myself. But yeah, I mean, it is, yeah, obviously it is can be a really important thing too. Just being able to trust yourself like that could be a scary thing, I imagine. I don't know. Yeah, I guess that's something I have been able to do is just not be too scared in my own ideas, like at least in terms of music, I guess. Because it's weird. Like you know, I'm I'm scared of a lot of things in life, I guess. But yeah, music has been like okay for the most part.
That's good. Yeah.
I did have terrible like stage fright for a long time though, for like my whole life.
But now you're playing live,
Yeah,
which is really cool.
only over the last like couple years. I mean, yeah, no, at the beginning it was like really terrifying still, because
Mhm.
like in school, like I did choir for like not my whole life, since like grade 7, like what is that, like 12 years old. Yeah, I was in like choir for a long time, but for most of that entire time, like I've always been, terrified of singing live. Like at the beginning, I would like, it never happened, but I was close to like throwing up a lot
Oh
on
no.
stage. Sometimes I would not
Oh,
be able to sing because I was so like nauseous of being like, singing at a school
yeah.
assembly or whatever like that. And like, yeah, don't even get me started on singing solo because like I wasn't able to do that at all because of that fear. So
Mhm.
yeah, that was only, I mean, it was a long time, but yeah, luckily over the past couple of years, I've been able to like pretty much like mostly get over that.
Was there anything that you consciously did to like overcome that fear and get more comfortable playing live?
No, I don't think there was. I don't think I was able to find anything that. Well, okay, wait, no, that's not true. I will say first though that like just doing it a lot helped. Like playing live,
Mhm.
but also playing live and not singing. Like playing live while uh, being on bass or the drums. Because I play at a church with some friends, like once a month, give or take, like other events and stuff. And we've been doing that for like 5 years now, and
Mm.
that has really helped with that for sure. Because yeah, even with that, like the first time that we, when first time that we did it, and I was there like playing the drums, I was, I had a similar amount of like stage fright from doing that. But now like it's like nothing. So yeah, and I feel like that has kind of, transferred over to the singing and playing my own music. It's still, it is scarier in a different way still, but yeah, that has helped. And then I was also gonna say, like, for the conscious, whatever I did consciously, just trying to stay like grounded in the moment, like when I'm up there, like thinking like,
Mm.
yes, like I'm doing this right now, like, these are people here, I'm singing, like being like in the moment of that instead of I guess like the fear taking hold in my brain or the anxiety.
Mm.
And yeah, because like the stage fright, I feel like it was rooted in the fear of like, oh, I'm gonna mess up, like I'm going to sing this wrong now, I'm gonna play a wrong note right now, and like that would like overtake like everything, the mindfulness, I guess, that sort of thinking has definitely helped with that.
Nice. And you play with like a full band when you play live?
Yeah, for the most part, but these days for sure. At first, I was playing solo like whenever I played live, which was not, it was rare. I'm talking like during like university. There were a few
Mm.
times where I played events and stuff, and it was just like always by myself, and that was definitely that was, that's scary in a different way. And even now it still continues to be scarier than like doing it with the band that I have now. But yeah, now I play with the band, and last year we like played a lot. Last year, 2023, I mean. 2024 we only played like once, but yeah, well, and hopefully this year, 2025, we play like more. But yeah, it's been fun doing it with the band.
It's really
Yeah,
cool.
it's been cool just being able to get that collaboration that I don't usually get,
Mhm.
like being in the rehearsal space and then, letting them come up with their own things to play, and also like allowing them to play things differently, and trying to not trying to not be too like precious about like the things that I've recorded in like the studio versions of these songs. Yeah,
Mm.
it's been good, rewarding.
Yeah. That's one of my favorite things about Because I only started playing with more people in a band setup this past year, and my favorite thing about it was that like we would play, and there was usually a lot of repeat songs in the different shows that we've played before, but every time we would do it, we would change it a little
Mm,
bit or make like a different version or just do something different,
yeah,
and that was really fun.
yeah,
I really enjoyed
I
that.
love that. Yeah, and just even seeing like other artists do that live, just playing their music differently than the recorded version is always like, for me, I find it like way more like interesting and entertaining a lot of the time. And I know some people are like not into that, but yeah, it's cool. And playing with the live band is cool. I guess before that, you did you mostly just like sing and play piano solo?
I actually didn't really do any pop gigs at all. I was performing a lot, mostly on flute.
Flute, right?
Yeah. Um, so that was actually good because I had a lot more performance anxiety with singing. I think playing in the like the wind band uh, in high school and university, that was nice because there were more people, and so it was kind of like that same mentality of like when there's more people, it's not it does it's kind of it's less scary.
Mm-hmm.
um and then doing all the flute stuff and even just like being in the practice rooms at the university, it was good exposure therapy.
Mm.
And yeah, then I slowly started doing some small things here and there, but then last year I it was actually last year, like January 2024. I My goal was to play because I started playing shows in 2023, and so I was doing one maybe every three months ish. So my goal for 2024 was that I wanted to do one a month, and I did that
Wow.
until June, and then
Wow.
I had a summer job, so I stopped, and then I was recording stuff, so I didn't do as much. But I think like those 6 months was like I learned a lot from that, and not all the shows were good, but I learned a lot.
Yeah.
And I think it's important because now I think like I have different goals now. My goal last year was to just play a lot. My goals this year are to improve the quality of the show
Mm.
and to like play regionally a little bit more, not just downtown.
Mm. Yeah. I think that'll be my goal too. My goal will be your goal from last year, just to play
But
more shows.
I find like the best thing was following people on Instagram who are like artists in your genre and at your level in your area, and then
Mm.
every time they play a show, look at where they're playing and who was promoting it, and then reach out.
Yeah.
And yeah, there's a lot of cold emails I sent to venues being like, hey, can I play in your bar?
Yeah, that's a really good skill too, just being able to reach out like that. That is, yeah. I need to be able to become better at that too.
Do you have a favorite project that you've made?
My friends have asked me this before, and then I always always makes me freeze up.
Do you have a least favorite project?
Hmm. I think I have. I think I could answer both. Okay, yeah. So first, like my favorite one, I would probably say it's this album that I put out 2022 called Moon Phases. Yeah, and this one was like important to me because I made it out of like grief because my grandfather had passed away,
Hmm.
and then there's a while where I just wasn't writing or anything, and then I kind of told myself at first like, oh, I don't want to like write about this or anything,
Yeah.
but then I ended up doing the opposite because then music songs just like started coming, and then it just became like an outlet for the grief, I guess.
Yeah.
So then it was really yeah, it was like cathartic being able to write and record this music that was like meaningful, and then yeah, being able to write through like the lyrics, just like kind of like how I was feeling and being able to process things like in that way. It was all like really, yeah, like I said, meaningful for me. So the project is still like means a lot to me because of that.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I really like that one. And then least favorite, uh, it's probably like one of my early, one of my like probably my third album that I made, which was called like New Light in 2017. Just just don't like it because like I feel like I made a wrote a lot of like bad lyrics and just like not good songs at that time because I was like still like figuring out like songwriting and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, just because of that, it's like one of those things where if you or like you listen to one of the songs and you're just like cringing, like thinking that you could have like done it differently or written
Yeah.
this differently or not said these words on record. So yeah, yeah,
Yeah. It's kind of this weird thing where it's like every time you release a song, it's like I like this now. I don't know if I'm gonna like this 5 years from now.
yeah,
Guess we'll see.
yeah. But now, I've gotten I don't think that anymore because now I've just completely like given up like yeah, I like this now. That's it. I'm not gonna think about whether I'm gonna dislike it in the future or not.
Even if there are things that you wish you could change about it, or you're more aware of the things that you can improve on, doesn't mean that it doesn't have meaning. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah. I think it's easy to forget that, that like it's this thing that you made, it's like you like it right now, you're getting something out of it, so that's all that's important, you know.
Mm-hmm.
You don't have to think about like if it's gonna be like embarrassing in the future or whatnot.
This reminds me of that quote, where it's like someone tells you, "Oh, your stuff is trash." It's like, "Yeah, it's my trash."
Yeah, yeah, be proud of it because
Yeah.
you created it. Yeah, for sure. Yeah. Someone told me that. Well, okay, no, someone didn't tell me that, but like there've been times where I've been, early on, especially where someone would like out me as making music, and they would be like, they play my stuff, and I'd be so embarrassed, and people would like. I remember once that my friend would said like, "Oh, are you so embarrassed?
Mm-hmm.
Like, you made this. Like, you don't need to be." They didn't say all this. They
Yeah.
just said, "Why are you so embarrassed?" But I don't know. I still remember that now, because I guess that was the first time that somebody like said that to me
Yeah.
about that. So yeah, like I try to not be so. Um, I try to not get shy
Mm-hmm.
so much now with my music and with when other people are like listening to it, but it still happens
Yeah.
sometimes.
I used to be the same way. And then now, like, no one really listens to my music in front of me. But if they do, I'm like, thank you for the stream.
Yeah, yeah. You
Yay.
have to remember, it's you're getting that 0.0001
Yeah.
cent.
In 10 years, maybe I can buy myself a cup of coffee with the
Yeah.
stream money. Do you have any projects or performances coming up that you'd like to share on the show?
Yeah. Well, I am working on this my next album. Yeah, I had these bunch of songs that I was working on in like 2023 to like early 2024, and then I kind of like shoved them all to the side to work on what ended up being like the previous album. So now I'm like kind of going back to work on this batch of songs, and I've been doing a lot of like cutting songs out that are just like not working, and then yeah, like as a whole I'm like trying to take it to a different direction. So now for this one I'm trying to incorporate more jazz
Mm-hmm.
stuff, like a little bit of bossa nova and like samba and some like salsa that I've been like listening to lately. Has been kind of like inspiring now. And yeah, for this one, like I'm hoping that the main thing can be like collaboration.
Mm.
So for this one, I'm trying to I was telling people anyways that I want to get people to play like all the different instruments for it, and like try to like take a step back from that. So hopefully I'm able to do that for this one, but it's still yeah, it's it's difficult doing that.
Yeah, that's
So
really
yeah,
cool.
we'll see how it turns out, but hopefully I'm able to do it this year. Like last year, something I was able to not able to do, but something that I ended up doing was just like meeting a lot more
Mm,
musicians through playing gigs and going to a few more shows and stuff. And so yeah, I did end up meeting a few Humber people and
nice.
seeing them play live, and yeah. So now I kind of have some people like lined up a bit,
That's good.
but yeah, it's just a matter of like um solidifying the arrangements of the songs and
Mm,
getting things to a level where I can, reach out to people without the music being like all over the place.
so I have two more questions before we finish. What resource or piece of advice would you give to your younger self when you were beginning your journey?
I'd say don't be afraid to show people your music. Don't be like ashamed or embarrassed like what we were just talking about. Because yeah, at first going back to before I started recording music, when I just started getting into music as a whole, and I started trying to write music. Like I was doing that for like 2 3 years, but I only ever showed my sister and maybe like one or two other people that whole time, like any of the music at all, because I don't know why. Yeah, I guess I was embarrassed about it. Yeah, and I remember it was terrifying just the first time that I showed like my sister like one of the songs that I had like recorded on my MP3 player. Yeah,
Mm,
it's scary to do that, and I guess a lot of people don't want to show their friends or whatever. Like going beyond music, just any creative things that they might be doing, just because of that like thought of like, oh, this is not good, it's not worth showing anybody. But it's like really, it's just nice, like being able to show your friends things, and hopefully your friends are like good people, so they're not gonna like just like shit on you for for the things that you're like proud about. But yeah, I think that's it's important. But at the same time,
Mm,
if you don't want to show anybody your stuff, like that's fine too.
yeah, that's good advice. The last question is, do you have a music recommendation for our audience?
Yeah, okay, I did write one in this email. What did I say? I think I put a I wait.
Wait, let me go back and
Yeah.
see. I asked people to send it to me so that they're, because I don't know about you, but for me, when I'm asked what music I listen to, I forget every song I've ever listened
Yep,
to in my
yep.
life.
Yeah,
So,
doing it ahead of time was like, it's good because now I can see.
yeah.
I said the piano concerto in G major by Ravel, and I said the second movement of that. Um, yeah, so I thought it was fun. Just put a classical one there instead of like
Yeah.
anything that my music sounds like. Um, because yeah, this piece and like this movement in particular, like I heard for the first time this year, and yeah, this movement was so I thought it was so like weird because you know it's the begin for it's a few minutes where it's like just piano and it's playing this really long melody that just like keeps going on and on and on, and then the orchestra comes in and it's like beautiful, but then they play there's a lot of jazzy like chords that Ravel writes in this that are just so I don't know. I don't know everything that he's written, but it seems like very different compared to the stuff that I've heard from him, and
Mm,
like, very like contemporary in a way. And then there's parts of it where it's like just really dissonant, like kind of like out of nowhere. There's like a few moments where the piano will just play these, we'll be playing these notes that just seem like completely out of place, but like listening to it more, they like kind of like fit in somehow. They fit in by like not fitting in. Yeah, just the whole like mood of the whole thing and dissonant sections of that I found like really inspiring. Yeah, so I've put this in like my music inspo playlist for like the my next album that I always try to like keep a playlist for like the albums that I'm like
Mm.
working on. So yeah, this one's on there just, and yeah, I'm trying to like maybe take something out of that to apply to the music that I'm working on.
Really cool. Yeah. Thanks for being on the
Yeah,
podcast.
thank you. It was so nice talking to you.
Thank you so much for listening to this episode of the Bedroom Studios podcast. Don't forget to add this podcast to your playlists and follow us on Instagram, YouTube, and Spotify at Bedroom Studios Podcast. You can follow Christopher on social media and check out their music. All links can be found in the episode description. Thanks again for listening, and we'll see you in the next episode.